All right, what's happening in the crypto market with XCN, XRP, and other altcoins? Well, it's Bitcoin. That's what's getting into the market. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil. We keep technical analysis short and sweet. So we see that Bitcoin had this drop. It did not hold above 108 as we were expecting, with it starting a downward trend line. If you're on my signal channel, you got out of any trade that you had, like we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But Bitcoin had this major drop from 108 down to 105 at an all-time high of 112 roughly. But with that small, I believe around 5% drop, we were looking at QNT. We were waiting for it to break a higher high, but that did not happen. It is also forming that downward trend line, as you can see right here. And if we built an upward trend line from that, we'd start right here, and we would say once it broke this trend, we saw it tried to pop back in, touch this downward trend line, and also got rejection, which continued for a further downtrend. It's currently at 106.86. You could potentially get a scalp in here for anywhere from around 3% to maybe 5%, maybe 7%. But it's likely that it is going to drop further. I believe it could even be touching back down to around 100 or even the 96 mark, where it broke that trend line that we were waiting for it to break. When you use Fibonacci on this, you can see that it's already almost at the 0.618, which is what we typically like to see some support at. Maybe a little bit of consolidation. We want to see what Bitcoin does and maybe do that 5% push up. However, it does have a little bit more further downside. When looking at the bigger picture in the 4-hour chart, we were waiting for it to break this trend line. So to consider this as stronger support, we do want to see it come down here and touch, use that 200 EMA as well as support, get some higher volume happening down around in the bottom, and then eventually start moving back upwards. We did have a nice scalp with QNT. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Anywhere from 25% to 5% if you got in a little bit later. BNT also had a little bit of rejection, a little bit heavier than we expected, as it was holding up on 0.69 area, and then it started to drop, and we see the next support being around 0.63. Overall, this is more of a swing trade. We were up around 100% within this area while it did its consolidation. LCX, it was doing some strong pushes upward and started forming some W's, tried to create that higher high, also rejected with Bitcoin's dump, but we are trying to see some more support above this black line before we get a better confirmation for entry. XYO also got beat up, but still trying to fill out the cup and handle pattern. This is 15 minutes. Zoom out to the daily, and with the daily, it's still major potential to start pushing upwards towards 3 cents. It's still within, I guess it's underneath that fair value gap, underneath the 200 EMA, so it's not looking the best right now. You may want to be looking for scalp trades on something else, like QNT is something more I'm looking into. XRP, still, I would consider it forming the inverse head and shoulders. It is getting a little bit of support within the point, what is that, 2.15 range, holding above the 200 EMA, which is nice. And we do want to see that start curving upwards. Hopefully Bitcoin will start pushing upwards. With what I have printed prior with the ghost candles, you can see that I expect that it may have a little bit further of a downtrend to go before starting to get more support at the $100 range, which also pushes us into the beginning of June, which is what we are expecting when we look back over at XRP. Anywhere in between June 17th and July 17th is going to be some major news, but I believe XRP may not see its push until November. So keep that in mind. And like we were talking about XPR instead of XRP, for the potential investment, we'd still want to see this trend a little bit lower and get some support off that 0.003. Really, we want to see Bitcoin kind of make a move upwards, but I don't think that's going to be happening for a few days. XLM, XLM also in a downward trend, zooming out into the 4-hour. We had that inverse head and shoulders. It did not break the 0.32, but it is doing a little bit of downward consolidation, also below the 200 EMA. We do want to see that push and hold above the 200 EMA and potentially break this downward black trend line before start seeing a better move for an investment on that one. And then GRT and Tornado. GRT did not hold above the 0.12 mark, had a rejection, still continuing downwards. Overall, it does look like it has potential to move upwards with this inverse head and shoulders. However, it could just be denied and we could see a further downtrend. But I believe once Bitcoin starts pushing up, GRT will easily push over that 200 EMA and start going for its third downtrend or third touch on the downtrend around 0.23 before breaking it and having a continuation upward. And Torn also had a major push down underneath the 200 EMA, but it's still above $7.50. I believe it could see support back around $7.50, but when we're zooming out to the 4-hour and we're doing Fibonacci to test from this low to this high, somewhere in this area around the $8 is a possibility, and that could be touching underneath the 200 EMA before it gets some support and starts pushing upwards to finish out a cup and handle. That's it for today. I always recommend MEXC for the lowest trading fee platform, or Coinbase. They're doing free airdrops, coins, and Grass Token. Grass Token gives free airdrops as well. That's it for today. I'll see you guys on the next one.